Procurement module allows two types of transactions, that is RFQs and purchase requests. But remember, the availability of these options depend upon the settings in company settings form. Let's start with RFQs. RFQs can be created by users having RFQ requisition rights in user setting form. So let's log out and log in with a user who can create RFQs. Now as you can see, create new RFQ and my RFQ links are available here. Let's create a new RFQ. This is RFQ details form. This form is used to create new or edit saved RFQs. Process of RFQs is like this. RFQ is created, then RFQ is submitted to creditors. Quote info comes from creditor and is captured. RFQ is submitted for approval if needed, and in the last, RFQ is converted to purchase request. Let's create a new RFQ. When RFQ details form opens for creating new RFQ, fields like created by, created on, RFQ ID and requisition type are already filled in. We can change requisition type. Let's add title. Let's add approval hierarchy. Only those approval hierarchies are available to this user, that is creator 1, in which creator 1 is at level 1. Click save. Now new creditor and new item buttons are available, which allow us to add new creditors and new items in this RFQ. We can also check preferred creditor checkbox to make sure that only preferred creditors can be added into RFQ. This is RFQ creditor form. It allows us to add creditors into RFQ. Select a creditor here. As we have already selected preferred creditors here on RFQ details form, so only preferred creditors are available here. We cannot add sundry creditors in this RFQ. When creditor is selected from this lookup window, it loads all the important info of that creditor from Microsoft Dynamics GP and shows it here. We can change some information like text schedule. This is, we can add as many characters as we need. Now let's add item. By default, this is RFQ item form, and by default when it opens, it allows us to add non-inventory items, as you can see from the form. But we can also add inventory items. As soon as we select an inventory item, this checkbox is automatically unchecked. Let's add another item. Let's add a non-inventory item, this one. We can also save this RFQ at this time and log out and come back at any time and edit this RFQ. For example, I come back later and at any time, and I can go back to this RFQ by clicking here, My RFQs. My RFQ shows all the RFQs that belong to this current user. My RFQs has 3 views: my saved RFQs, my open RFQs, and my completed RFQs. My saved RFQs are the RFQs that just have been saved and have not yet been submitted to creditors. My open RFQs are the RFQs that either have been submitted to creditors for quote info, or they have been submitted for approval to quote motivation user. My completed RFQs are the RFQs which either have been rejected by quote motivation user, or they have been converted into purchase requests. Here is the RFQ that I created last time. Click edit RFQ and we are back on the same RFQ. Now let's submit this for quote info. Are you sure you want to submit this RFQ? Yes. As soon as we submit this RFQ, it opens a report of this RFQ. This report can be printed by clicking this button. Next step is to capture quote info that comes from creditors. So whenever the quote info arrives from creditors, we can come back here on my open RFQs and click this view button to go to quote info screen. This screen allows us to capture quote info. This is the basic info of the RFQ. Here we can select creditor one by one and add their quote info. For example, let's add quote info for Associated Insurance Incorporation. Save. Quote info has been saved. Now we can see that we have already captured quote info for Associated Insurance Incorporation, but we have not captured quote info from Business Equipment Center. Let's suppose at the moment that we have only quote info received from Associated Insurance Incorporation, so we can move forward. Once all the quote info has been captured, we can click this submit button. Take a look at the message. Changes will not be allowed once quote info has been submitted. Are you sure you want to submit this quote? So once the quote has been submitted, at this stage no more editing can be done with this RFQ. Yes. Now RFQ is ready to be converted.